all the work is done by the women, all the cash goes from and to the hands of men. That's how it is in the agricultural world, with few exceptions, right? But largely it is like this, which is such a shame, I think. Hello, my name is Aparna Karthikeyan. I'm an independent journalist. I write for People's Archive of Rural India, where I'm a senior fellow. My work has been funded by the Azim Premji University Research Grant. My series is called Let the Meat Rise. Now I'm going to talk about one of the crops that we covered, which I think none of you will leave out in your food. All of us use it, two different levels, I suppose. We, add more of it or use less of it depending on how our taste buds are. That's chili. We traveled to Ramanathapuram district and we went to 3 blocks there to look at the chili farmers in Tamil Nadu, and they grow a very interesting looking chili, small round chili. It looks like a cherry when it is ripe, and then it is dried on the rooftops, and then people very carefully take them in sacks and they take them to the mandi in Ramanathapuram where it is sold. Now, interestingly, much of the work for chili, like in many crops, is done by women. Yes, it is done by women. It is done by older women. It is done, and it is a very, very difficult crop. Not because it is, not hardy or not. It's not like, a delicate crop, but it's a difficult crop because it has a limited period of time when, the crop is on the ground and it's flowering and fruiting. And they call it bogam, each harvest, right? And it has a limited number of bogams in a year. This crop can give a reasonable profit if the landscape is irrigated and if the weather behaves. There should not be massive amount of rainfall in the wrong time, in which case the flowers fall down and no fruiting happens. Much of the work is done by hand, which basically means that the women are there in the field very early in the morning. Why are they there very early in the morning? Because pests can come otherwise, and eat the chili leaves. And sometimes peacock wanders around, the plants get destroyed. There are goats, there are cows, the whole, when the plant is growing, it can get destroyed. So what these women do is they get up at 4:35 in the morning. They make food for the family, pack the children off to school, put some dosa, idli batter or whatever it is, get that done, take a little bit of food for themselves and walk to the field. They took me in a shortcut, to the field. It was a half an hour, no, not half an hour. It was maybe a 15-20 minute drive from their houses. And this, they said, was a shortcut, right? You have to imagine distances in rural India. It's just not what we think of as a 10-minute walk away. One, people are walking very fast and people are walking across fields to get, from point A to point B. So we traveled to their field and we saw the women, plucking each chili by hand, putting it in a paint bucket, and then once it had come up to a certain level, taking it back home, drying it on their terraces until they could hear the chili seeds, move, shake inside the chili. So that is a very interesting thing. How do you know it's done? It's red, it's dark red, the skin is a little bit, shriveled, and the chili seeds move. Okay, so they picked it up in their hand and they rattled it. It's a beautiful looking chili, the Ramnath Mund. That's the heritage variety. One of the people we met was a woman farmer, Adekala Chelvi. Actually, I won't call a woman farmer because she's a farmer, right? Who happens to be a woman, extremely enterprising person who is part of an SHG group in her village, who is so articulate and who took, I think she had no problems about making fun of me. The fact that I was such a slow chili picker, she put me to work. So I was following her around, and then it takes me so long to just pluck the chilies off one plant, and she's done 4 or 5 by then, and her neighbors were like, see, you are useless here. You take Adekala Chelvi to your, city, because she can do all the work that you do there also. Because besides her agricultural work, she has goats and she has fields in a couple of places. Her husband's been abroad for much of her life. She raised her 2 daughters, and she also does office work, with the SHG. So with the FPO that she's involved in, they have given her a computer. So she also takes printouts, she uploads documents, downloads documents. It's incredible how many hats she wears with absolutely, no banda about it. Like, she makes no fuss about it, right? She does all of these roles. She's also a seed saver. So she was showing us the seeds that she was saying, saving from cotton that she also grows. And she says she sells them also. But to sell the cotton seeds, it means that she has to sit there and then clean the cotton, get the seeds and then keep them aside. She also has paddy that's grown in her house. And she says, I can afford to, and I have place to store. So I keep the paddy in a loft, where the rats can't get them, and waits for a good rate, and then she gives them to the government. Similarly for the chili, she says, I can afford to wait. Many of the farmers cannot afford to wait. What do? They just go to the market when they have the crop and they give it whatever price they get for that day. So the one thing that the farmer can never decide is the final price of their product, right? We were there in Ramanathapuram in one of the chili mandis where everybody was coughing, not because of COVID, but because chili is like such a, the crop has a niddy, as we call it in Tamil. It's very pungent, right? So every time people were walking around that, I'm sure some of the chilies were breaking and we could smell the sharpness of the chili there. There were so many people who were waiting as if they were going to get their exam results, okay? And it looked exactly like that. They were so tense. The men were standing like this, because the auctioneer will come in there. He will stand there between the heaps of chilies with other men. And so here's the thing. All the work is done by the women. All the cash goes from and to the hands of men. That's how it is in the agricultural world, with few exceptions, right? But largely it is like this, which is such a shame, I think. So the auctioneer was there, and then there was another buyer. They put a towel over their hands, and they have a very complicated system using all the fingers and the parts there and the center to decide the price of the product. So this man gets a small commission for which he, talks to many buyers, and he will tell you what the rate for your chili is going to be that day. If you're happy with it, you can sell it, put them in sacks, get the money right away from the agent and then go home. The funny thing is, there were some women in the market. Tamil Nadu government has a nice scheme now where women can travel free in town buses. So they had come to the market. They said, otherwise it would have costed us a lot of money, 40-50 bucks, in bus fare, which they have saved. They also bought their food. The men have come here. They paid for the bus ticket, or they've come by lorry or, whatever, in a truck, with their produce. And all of them said, when we come, we eat here and then we go. So it is an extra expense. When the women come, they finish the housework, they come here, they sell the produce, they also bring their own food, and then they go back home. So that gender inequality, I think I would say, the power, where the money lies, where the work lies, that was very interesting, and it came through quite sharply in the chili story, as did, the other issues growing this crop, which again, like, many of the crops I've looked, very, like I said, the shape of the chili and the way it looks, they call it sambar chili, and they say it goes to Chennai. They don't use that so much for powdering. They use other kinds of chilies for it. But how they store it, how they keep it, what kind of profits they make, all those details are there in the story. As we go along, we'll look at the other stories in the series, some of the reporting that I have completed and some of the stories that I've written. Please do give the story a read. The link is at the bottom of the video. Thank you.